We there? Okay, good. Call this meeting to order. First, let's do the roll call here. I think this is our first order of business, isn't it? Yes, we'll do that. And if you'd go ahead and do that.
Let's just have everyone announce their name as we go around here
Okay.
today. That might be the easiest way to do this. in the
Okay,
future
sounds
here. So
reasonable.
then, and that way too, our guest today from Sandy Transit will know, the actors here too. So thank you.
Sure.
We'll start there.
Or Eric Sale.
Cindy Moore, Clackamas County.
Jeff Gersh.
Davy Cross.
Or Scott Stahl.
Michael McRoy, City Councilor.
John Lagarza, Health Sustainable Communities is, Matt, do we have anyone on Zoom? I was looking for Stefan, so Stefan's absent. Okay.
Okay.
All right, you have a quorum, Chair.
Okay. First, we're going to be starting with public comment. Is there anything I need to say in return? Well, I guess we're not really discussing anything, but
It's just if anyone is here to speak on public comment, and I don't see any.
do we have anybody on Zoom?
We don't have anyone
Okay.
here to speak on public comment.
Okay, we'll go over that. So that brings us to the Sandy
What
Transit.
approval of the prior minutes meeting there?
Oh, there you go. Everybody, take a minute to look over the prior minutes and if we have any discussion there.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from the prior meeting.
I have a,
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, I believe the minutes have been passed. Now we get to the Sandy Transit discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I would like to introduce Sandy Transit, Muna Runston. She has been the pleasure to come here today to talk to us. One of the topics of conversation that's come up with is how we can potentially get a stop in the
Thank you.
industrial campus area in the future here. So we have
Thank you.
TriMet and Sandy that service the area. So
Thank you.
I'm appreciated to have Muna here today to talk to us, and we can talk more in the future about how this can happen here. So with that, Muna, go ahead.
Well, thank you for having me here this morning. As John mentioned, my name is Muna Rustum. I'm the transit manager for the city of Sandy. And just to give you a little background about our service, in 2000, we withdrew from TriMet and we started our own service from Sandy to Gresham. And then we expanded with some dial-a-ride, medical rides. And then in 2013, I believe it was, we started a route to Estacada that was funded through Jobs Access grants. And then we also have started a route to Clackamas as well as an in-town circulator. And about a month ago, I would say John approached me with the idea of altering our route so that we could serve the industrial park. And I took that back to the director, and we thought it was a great idea considering this is a Jobs Access route. And so we proposed a plan, we brought it to our board and they approved of it. So our route change looks like currently we go all the way in from Eagle Creek Road. We would then turn off on Folsom, head up the highway. We would go all the way to River Mill and then go through on Park Street and come back up campus. And the reason we do that kind of backwards, it's a little safer for the driver rather than having to try to shoot across River Mill all the way. And then they would continue on their normal route through town where they end at City Hall and reverse it on the way back. At that time, they would have to cross River Mill completely, but at least we're only doing one. And I understand that at some point there should be some traffic mitigation for that stop. So, and then on the back are our routes. We are having to make a couple changes. So those are highlighted more for our board. But you would also be able to see the times that it would arrive approximately at the area.
This is great. Thank you so much. And commission,
thank you for not putting us in the position where we had to deal with Metro, first of all. That's amazing. Wow. I have no questions.
I'm just astounded that you came with a
With a
solution right up front. It wasn't a beginning of a big, long process. It was just, here you go. And this is, yeah, it's incredible. Thank you.
Welcome, you're welcome. I did want to point out a couple things that we would love to be able to provide some signs so we could make stops in the park. So if that's something that we can work towards. And then we also do have an app, and this is more for probably the future use of this, but it'll allow employees to know if they're going to be late, if there's some kind of traffic delay or detour, anything like that, so that they can provide notification. And then we also offer passes that are at a discount, and we'd love to kind of do some marketing to alert the employees of this opportunity. And I should mention, this route is actually interlined with Clackamas County's route, so it can bring workers all the way from Rhododendron into town. So,
That's great.
Actually, the only question I have is that there is a stop at the industrial complex at 3:58, and then the next one is 6:48. Is there possibility to get another route within there? Because if people are finishing work, say at 5 o'clock or 5:30, they potentially have to hang around.
So it would come back around at 4:12, but yeah, the way the route is set up, it would require us to have more funding to
Yeah,
slip
okay.
another route in there, but I can certainly,
I mean, it's a small consideration in the bigger picture, but I guess that would just be the only addition I would say would be worth considering.
Go ahead.
Perhaps just creating the gap between the two without increasing the number of routes, adjusting the gap so that you have a 1 hour gap between 2:48 or 1:48 and 3:58, hour and 10 minutes. And then we have basically a 2 hour and 48-minute gap between the next route, which is when people are going to be getting off. Maybe we can adjust the larger gap between the 2:48 to 3:58 route and have that other one just after 5 o'clock.
Yep.
So that people that were getting off at 5 o'clock would be able to take advantage of getting on the bus at that time.
sure,
That'd be beneficial.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can certainly bring that back. It would require public notification.
Yeah.
And we also have to coordinate with the county because that rhododendron route is
Ah,
theirs. So,
gotcha.
but I will definitely present that to them and see if they are interested in making a change on that.
Yeah. Really appreciate you bringing everything to us here. This is great. Our company is in the industrial complex. And so I'm glad to be able to offer that. And if you're going to be putting out information at places of business about the route, we'd be happy to post anything in our office for you. Yeah,
That'd be
to let
great.
all of our employees know.
So we do look to make this change probably late July or August. It just times out with when we put out bids for our drivers and gives us time to make some new schedules and whatnot and market.
Yeah,
So
it's great.
Sure, I got. What's the average cost to do that? Or what are you charging per ride?
it's $1.
It's $1.
$1 each
Oh,
way,
yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
And then if you buy a pass, we have punch passes, makes it 83 cents a ride, and we have a monthly pass, which is $30. So if you take more than 30 trips, you're gonna start lowering your cost immediately.
That's great.
Is there a method to get, say, from here to Gresham? Would that be going into Sandy and then Sam to Gresham or to Clackamas? Would there
Correct,
be?
yes,
Okay,
that would be the option.
okay. And for us, we're in the industrial park there too, so I appreciate this and I would love to continue to work on this and promote it. And I think we would take these times and then try to craft the shift around what would work for the times to take advantage of that to the full extent for people that would choose to use this. We would look to accommodate to come in step with what you're providing too. So thank you.
And as you mentioned, the Clackamas route, I would say we are the only service that goes through Boring and Damascus. So if you have any workers that are coming from there, they would be able to hop on our Clackamas bus and head to Estacada from Sandy Transit Centers.
Could you maybe help me understand, unless I'm the only one, I can take it offline, the bottom section that's all highlighted, like I get the industrial complex line with the one yellow, here's the stops. But this lower portion that's all yellow, could you walk me through what that means?
So, yeah, as I mentioned,
Please.
that was more for our board and to public, a notification that we're changing the time. So we are adding 10 minutes to the end of those routes. So it changes all those times moving forward.
So it's just the time changes. Those are already routes. It's just the time. Sorry, I
Yes,
missed
so
that in
we-
the early. Okay.
Yeah, so we added in the 2 stops at the complex and then we also moved the time up. So we just want to make sure everybody's aware of all of those changes.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
You bet.
How's the funding for the transit? Is it stable?
It is stable. We have funding for the next year for certain. So we do know that ODOT has that secured. So, and then a lot of this route is funded through STIPS, which is state funded. So there's no concern there.
Great, thanks.
Would it be an option at some point to be able to replace the TriMet line with SAM, say into Clackamas? Is that an option for the future?
So that would require Estacada requesting a withdrawal. There would be considerable work put into doing that. And so that would involve the city. That's certainly something that we could, discuss at some point if that's what the city wants, but.
Because I think one of the next things would be to figure out, step 2 would be how to get from this location to Clackamas. And so you're very accommodating through this process to come to our location, much easier than it was to raise this concept of possibly changing TriMets in the future. So it seems more likely for our desires, it seems more likely to pursue that through SAM than TriMet for being successful.
Sure, if that's something the city decides, I mean, obviously Sandy has already done a withdrawal. I was not there during that time, but we could certainly look back and see what that process looked like and how they were able to be successful with it.
Okay.
I think part of the reason they withdrew was because TriMet wasn't coming out as much as they needed. And so they felt they could provide more service that way.
Okay.
And TriMet comes out, is it twice or 3 times a day now?
I don't
I
really.
know they come in the morning
It's-
and the evening, but I don't know if they come to, I see they're here now, so maybe 3 times. Yeah.
On cue.
Well, I know. I see. Yeah.
There's one right there.
Yeah,
It'd be helpful to bring TriMet in just to see their route for the, just so we understand like the timing, to your point, like and then to talk with the city more about like.
I
the
think it's a lot
frequency.
more often than that too.
It
Yeah,
might
I
be,
think it's
yeah.
like 12, 14 times a day.
Is
Yeah.
it 12 or 14 times a day?
It's quite a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
I think they have more limited service on the weekends. We operate on Sundays and I don't believe they do.
They do
On
not.
Sundays,
So
you're looking.
You're 7 days a week then, right?
we are 7 days a week.
I'll give you a little background because I'm actually on the Clackamas County Transportation Board.
Oh, okay.
There's 7 services, there's 7 transportation systems operating in Clackamas County currently. And I think 2 or 3 of them come out of Sandy. You're not the only one.
Mount Hood Express also operates
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Sandy,
there's 2
yes.
there.
Mhm.
So Sandy is considered a hub for that would service this area. And as the Clackamas County is trying to broaden out into the region a little bit so they can get, underserved communities a little more contact. Not only for business, but also for seniors and people with aging and disabilities and those things, so they can get to their appointments. And this has been their concerted effort for quite a while. So this would probably be very much in line with
What they're trying. to do.
what they're
Right.
trying to do there. Yeah.
That's good.
It runs hourly, approximately.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're, TriMet, and if you look at STIF funds, which is State Transportation Infrastructure Funds, TriMet gets a third of it almost, I think, pretty close to that whole fund. And you guys get just a itty bitty small portion
It's a
of it.
very
It's
small
it's very,
portion.
very small portion
Yes.
of it, yeah. Which, good for TriMet, but not always so good for us because, I don't know if it services us as best. I think Sam does an excellent job in the area.
Thank Thank you.
No, I do. You guys, I've always see you around and, you know, I think they serve our needs quite well.
This is great.
Hmm.
Amazing that someone came to a meeting and brought a solution.
Sure.
Well,
How long did that process take to get the approval for the change in
That's-
route? Yeah.
I drew up a map,
Hmm.
brought it to my boss and we put out notification on the buses for, you know, the public announcement, and then we brought it to our board.
Nice.
So
Like a month or, oh,
it was about a month, yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, we had
Great
our
job.
our board meeting on the 4th. So from there, you know, any public comment we haven't received any. So no objections to the change.
The route that you were referring to that services rhododendron, is that I think I saw Clackamas County, but it said something about going to Eagle Creek, Estacada, rhododendron, Welch's maybe? Does it go all the way up to Zigzag?
It does.
Yeah, Zigzag.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's what's called the Village Shuttle. It serves the mountain community, you know, the actual villages rather than the commuter route that goes all the way to Timberline.
Where does that connect with Sam in Sandy?
At the transit center and actually at our operations center
Oh.
as well. So yes,
Too.
yes.
That's awesome.
I know you could ride here to all the way to, you can have one shuttle that goes all the way to Timberline, doesn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like $5 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's $2 actually.
Is it too? I
Yes.
I thought it was something like 5. I said, even that was good to me, you know, because I know a lot of the guys I bike with, you know, they'll take the shuttle from Portland, hook up with it in Portland somewhere or Gresham somewhere and ride it all the way to Timberline, then ride all the way back on their bicycles. So
Does this route connect with the route that goes up to Mount Hood?
Yes.
For
you
like
could
ski,
connect
like
at
the
transit
students
center.
that want to go
Oh, yeah.
snowboarding and stuff?
Absolutely, yes. It's
That's great.
designed to keep people off the road because especially in winter when there's lots of accidents. So, yeah.
That's great.
So,
Chair, this could be, you know, Melanie, I mean, like the EDC could, you know, letter support to the council recommendation, because that could come in for your July, when is your board meeting? July?
oh, we already had it.
Oh, you
It's
already had it.
It's
Okay,
already
you're
been
done with,
approved.
okay,
Yes.
okay, good. But in the future, so that's good.
And it was brought to city council last night and there was no concerns.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'd be more up for a letter of support. I certainly do support.
Yeah, I think a letter of
I think this
support
is
would be
excellent.
good recommend.
A minimum we could do, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm hearing right, you're trying to figure out what to do next in a letter of support. And you're saying it's done. So Estacada doesn't need to do anything.
Sure.
It's just gonna happen.
Well, if you want to kind of maybe investigate more, right? You could say like, we letter support to maybe like, you know, explore more of like the routing into Clackamas. I don't know. Could be
Well, I
something.
wouldn't get in the way of this at all. So I would let this start. And then if there's something else we need to talk about, we talk about it separately. So we don't put sand in the gears here. We just
Oh, sure.
keep going.
I'm not sure where to go with this. I mean, you know.
No, I think it's great. She's done. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you so
That's
much.
a-
I appreciate you coming. Yes.
Thank you all.
I wholly
Thank you.
support you. I know that. So
If you need one in the future, come back.
come on back.
Gotcha.
You're
Thank
talking
you.
to the choir here.
We're on the team.
Thank
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you.
That was nice to meet all of you.
All right, moving on. Strategic plan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So as we've been working on the strategic plan, we've had a subcommittee. And from the last meeting, we had input on items to consider, and then attached in your meeting minutes is the proposed scope of work. Eric and I have met and looked at that. But we're here today to, you know, get your input back on that. Again, this is something that would move forward over this year to be for a future RFP for like the 26, 27. So thinking about what you would like to have come out of the work being done through the strategic plan, this is the time to provide your input to that.
Do we have a overall presentation of what's going on here or?
Sure, if you look in. So one of the things that kind of came out of the subcommittee was, you know, really thinking about the opportunity for an OEM recruitment strategy and around that industrial campus area, right? So really thinking about like what that targeted OEM would be and maybe like the tier would be from that standpoint that. And so within that strategic plan would be really identifying like probably a tier 2 OEM provider that's probably not on the Pacific, Northwest, but could be, let's say, east of the Rockies, right? So identifying like who those actors are out there, right? That we could be able to promote and bring to the park for that 50-acre site, right? So I'll stop there if there's any questions about that strategy. Okay. The second thing is just looking at like, we have, solder timber in there. So what could be like the ecosystem that could continue to feed into it around different products there? So the CLT mass timber, thinking about, is there panel manufacturers? What other kind of upstream, downstream types of fabricators, engineers, designers that would fit into that area that's the number 2 item there. And then number 3, I think is really, we talked about identifying the workforce housing strategy. So being able to understand like what type of housing we have for employers here and for businesses that operate in the downtown. What's that look like for availability? What our plan is from that standpoint there, right? And then we know we're, the lodging strategy to be able to promote or attract, a future hotel or boutique hotel operator here. That's number 3. And then number 4, I think was real important that I heard a lot. We heard was just being able to market the area, right?
Sure.
And I think, David, you talked a lot about this, and Scott, you've talked about it too. But just how do we, as the city, think about developing our marketing video? What do we have as as at the heart of the Clackamas corridor, right? And we have outdoor recreation, we have an industrial park, we have the downtown, we have, what are our schools and our workforce that feeds into that? And what should that look like from a promotion strategy in a way we should think about doing those steps for that, right? And then the last thing was, I think one of the most important things we've talked about is how do we build on our CTE programs with companies in the area and with the Estacada School District, right? So helping to really identify those areas and find partners. And, if you haven't been up through the high school to look at the CTE program, I mean, it needs a lot of help, right? So like, we got to think about like, how do we connect those dots? How do we build stronger infrastructure in there, get some of the latest technology in there and be able to promote that. So for, companies coming in here. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, John, for the draft.
You're
Much
welcome.
appreciated. You did a great job capturing all of what we discussed, which was a robust conversation for sure. Just so I'm understanding it right, this proposed scope of work, these are the items that we discussed wanting to do as an EDC. This is going out in the form of an RFP for somebody to come in and help us accomplish that. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. That would be the step, Melanie, when I've talked, like it would be for like the budget in 26, 27, right? We would go out for an RFP to have someone do the strategic, let's call it a 5 or 10-year plan, right?
Okay.
And identify those critical components. And I think like for, we think about the first one, task one of the projects that would deliverables would be to come up with that like 20 to 25, maybe it's 20 companies, OEMs that we could strategically recruit to be able to come to this park, right? And then identify like, is that, going to ConExpo, or is it going to something on the west of Mississippi, right? Or, east of Mississippi or east of the Rockies, like, and being able to really have that recruitment strategy for the OEMs. And I think being able to, not only do we as a city would message that out to the public, but we message it to the county and to the state, like, okay, hey, we're looking for an OEM in this targeted market, right? I think that's really important. I think having that strategic plan, that also shows that not only are we looking for an OEM, we're looking for, an ecosystem for advanced manufacturing and for the wood products. And we're looking to build our workforce with our high school to be able to service that to the community. And we have housing, right? Or if not, here's how many housing units we have and here's what we're going to be doing. And then the last thing is we've got to put it in a box and be able to market it out there, right? So if someone calls, let's say east of the Rockies and says like, hey, I see this got this site and you got like I'm just saying like a video goes out to them and, it's like, boom. And then, or maybe it's in, on the radio, we're advertising, look at this, the heart of Clackamas, So I think those are kind of like the 5 main components that we would want to see, like, here's the steps to do that. Here's maybe the funding, the outreach and the strategy to keep everyone moving in that direction.
Thank you.
I agree.
David, thank you. You put a lot of work into helping bring this all into understandable form. So thank you so much for that. I think that'll be key as we look for ways to communicate clearly as part of this process. Your help in that this wouldn't have got here without you putting your brain to work. So thank you.
Who do we have in the industrial park that we can draw on to tell their story? Because I think we identified that part of the marketing is, part of the branding of this campaign would be to tell the story behind why people establish their business here and what the story of the business is and how it started, all that kind of stuff. And that becomes part of the narrative that attracts new people and new businesses. Do we have a list of businesses and people that we can draw on that could be storytellers that we could interview that could become part of that narrative?
I
If
would
not-
say yes.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think you do. I mean, there's several,
Yes,
I think you got, from Solder Timber to Northwest Technologies to Superior to M2, I think you have like what you're kind of looking for would be like one of the deliverables within the the strategic plan would be to kind of talk about like what are the components in the marketing side that should be included, right? So
Yeah.
I think what the strategic plan would do would be, okay, identify, and not only is it just the industrial campus, I think you got to think about the downtown and like, like Clackamas Outfitters. That's a great story too, right? So like we're trying to, I think then, the campus is important, but like when that comes to that marketing, we want to be able to promote the whole area. So if I'm thinking like, looking at that, I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. They got a great industrial park. I can get a job here. God, I got
Ryan, school.
I could write in the school, right? Ryan could talk about, they're behind their CTE program, but I can go up and go rafting or hiking right up here, or I can go skiing, right? So I think to the point of storytelling is like, if you haven't seen Jeff's video of Lake Oswego when they did the water line underneath it, I mean, that's a great story, and I don't know what something like that costs, but like maybe identifying like the key components in the marketing, what a budget would take to do that. And I think your marketing has to be a couple different things, whether it's media, you've talked about radio. I think radio is a great outlet too, right? So like, what is that marketing kind of items to think about? I think could be a great outcome, a deliverable for next steps to think, okay, now how do we do this, right?
Yeah. It's a good PR narrative as well.
Yeah.
I think, like the Port of Calamus, I bring myself back to because I was traveling between Circle and Billings, Montana in the middle, and I saw an ad came across the radio for the Port of Kalama somewhere in the middle of Montana. And I'm going, what? Why am I listening to this now? Of course, could be targeting me because I was out there, but their story is our story, but we can use the story of Mount Hood, the story of the Clackamas River. We have a lot to offer here, especially for the outdoor type. And we can look at Bend and what Bend has done. Bend has done a very effective job of selling recreation, and we need to sell recreation because it's here. It's here. It's here to be used. We also need to sell lifestyle too. And lifestyle is here much better than Portland, much better than a lot of areas around here. We're not horribly congested.
The word recreate is a very interesting brand word for us because it's about recreation, but it's also about creation. So you can
There you go.
create a new business, create a new life. And that whole around that word is a very interesting play on words.
Sure.
Never thought of it that way. We need bumper stickers or shirts or something. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, the City of Sisters, I was down there a couple of years ago, and they had a really cheap T-shirt, and it just says Sisters on it. You know, and I think it was $5. And I thought, you know, what if you take the logo, this logo here, SDK, City of Estacada, and just that on a T-shirt, cheap, $5. You know, and we bought it because it was $5, but the thing is that, you know, they were all over the place. I guess they sold out of 50,000 units or something like that. You know, I'm going, well, that just walks all over the place, you know. But, you know, the other thing I was thinking about too is, I have a lot of time to think about these things, unfortunately. Not only what we do locally here, that's very important, but what we do in the bigger scope of things outside of ourselves, you know, like I'm traveling across Montana and I'm listening to an ad for some Estacada. Where the hell is Estacada at? I mean, you know, it's just that planting that little seed, you know, whether or not we're hitting LA, we're hitting, you know, everything, all the major markets around. We're trying to drag people in from all over to come experience it and then go away. Come in, drop your money, have some fun, go away. And that's important too, you know, and that's the kind of thing we need to be looking at, because that drives these little small businesses around here, you know, because those people come in with a lot of money.
It's an interesting play on the Las Vegas. What happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas, because the brand of Estacada is what happens in Estacada. You take with you, it recreates you, it refreshes you. It's something that you come, you go, but it's something that lasts. Whereas Vegas is that throwaway, do it in Vegas and leave it there.
Yeah.
With Estacada, you take something that changes you. It's an interesting angle.
Yeah.
Anyway, marketing brainstorming aside.
I know. It's just, you know, there's a lot of ways to play this, and it doesn't going to cost us a lot of money to do it. You know, it just starts with small efforts, and we just branch it out, you know. And the same goes for the industrial end of it too, you know, the same thing creates itself. I wanted to tell Eric, and he was talking about housing early on in these discussions here, and the Kellendonk properties are starting to build right now, and that's 78 duplexes. You know, they've just started breaking ground there. So, and then I know I thought about you when I saw that. I didn't know myself that they were going to start, but all of a sudden I see them out there starting the process of that. And that would be on River Mill and Eagle Creek there. And you can look that up, that particular project up in the city's development guides there, and to see what exactly that property looks like, but that's starting now. So, you know, it's probably 2 years, 3 years before you see much, because it takes a long time to put groundwork down, but it's starting. So,
Yeah, it's just interesting to figure out ways to plug those things together, because other than that, it seems like, you know, fighting an uphill battle, not seeing progress and things like that. But then there's a different hand that knows of things going on, that's sort of, you know, trying to figure out how to put everything into the same plan and onto the same paper, or, you know, sort of design the whole thing that shows how it comes together would be helpful.
sure. I get you. And too often I was there when this was approved, so that particular project was approved, but, you know, and the other projects that are currently going to, I don't know, this makes 3 or maybe 4 that are currently in development. And a couple more that might be coming on, because they're in their last 2 years before they have to completely resubmit. So either they're going to do something or they're not, you know, and I don't know. That's the big thing. You don't know when these guys started. Development always happens at the speed of money, and right now money seems to be loosening up again because there seems to be a lot of things happening. And I think there's a lot of push for more economical housing and some support from the state for that. So Cindy, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick comment. Two things that I really appreciated about the scope of work is one, the focus on recruitment and then the focus on retention expansion because we're building on our strengths with the mass timber on the retention expansion. I think that's awesome. With the OEM recruitment, part of what comes to mind is this storytelling that we've been talking about more specifically around infrastructure and how are we going to be able to articulate what our current situation is and what the future looks like. Knowing that it's going to take some time to cast that line for the big fish, right? But what is our collective story around infrastructure to support something like an OEM on 50 acres? And just making sure that we're aware of that and the timing that goes into that. Because I know there was a conversation last week, maybe the week before with on Northwest Natural Gas and gas service too. And so just kind of keeping those things top of mind, but I really like the layout of this and just curious what all you need from us at this point to be able to take next steps.
I think, the next thing is Millie and I'll start working on, what putting together like the RP and the timing for that, And then I think, I think you bring up like an interesting point, like, as a region, right? Could there be some partners or other grant assistance or funding, for the strategic plan? I mean, we did meet with Northwest Natural in the county, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. And so talking about some next steps on the feasibility study of who would be partners with that. So we're looking at like, Clackamas County, Business Oregon, like what that partnership would be to study, so we've reached out to our other partners. So I think like one of the things when we think about, the city's making this strategic investment, but it's also for the county and the state, and so is there, I think we've got a good scope of work that we could start now reaching out to some other partners and say like, hey, is there a way to help fund or pay for some of this? Because we got to kind of test the market, what it's going to cost to do, right? And then be able to pay for that, right? But also is the same thing is that, if I'm a city communicating this in a county, I'm communicating this in a state, communicating this in a region, right? It's a lot. We just have more people out there, to your point of like awareness, if Business Oregon's at a conference where there's a lot of different manufacturers and they go a lot more than the city's going to be able, because they have a different budget where their touch points are different. But if they know that, hey, we have this beautiful 50-acre site that we're really trying to recruit, or if they have grant funding to be able to be like, hey, we're happy to send your team there to talk to these people that are going to be at this manufacturing conference, right? I think that's something to think about. I don't want to put words in the city, but that's something, that could be a potential to think about helping with that from a timing standpoint. We just got to make it more awareness, right, from that standpoint there. So if you're good with that, we can start, working on the RFP and identifying some partners and from that standpoint. So
Yeah, good bones. Let's skin it.
okay. All right. Great. Well, thank you.
I agree. All right, we need more discussion on this? Jeff, do you want to weigh in on anything or just sucking it all?
Well, I think because I'm new, I've got some listening time
Sure.
ahead and some learning time ahead. The only thing that comes to mind for me right now is sort of when I think about this, the order of operations, the priorities in here, and what gaps we might have that we really want to have some priority focus on. So one of the things that comes to mind for me is lodging, for example. If we could entice a major OEM manufacturer in here, it feels to me like part of our narrative would need to include something about lodging possibilities, and that I'm not in a place to be able to even speculate, but I just wonder if we have lodging as a major gap, whether we should be spending some additional focus on that so that when we do go out and do this marketing, we have an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Lodging is right in
Right.
our weakness quadrant. It's an area that we don't have an ability to fulfill. So yes, I agree.
When you bring people in for corporate travel, where do you have them stay?
They'll stay in Sandy, or they'll stay in Clackamas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have a sense of the outlook for additional lodging in Estacada? Is there interest? Is there conversation around that right now?
There's been.
The answer is
conversation
yes.
lately, and we're budgeting, there's money in the budget to be used. If I'm speaking correctly, I think there's money that's looking to be set aside for a study that would include lodging as a main piece of that to figure out what we need to do or what it would take to attract a hotel operator of some sort.
So in terms of order of operations, one question that comes to me is before we go out and seek an OEM, for
Mhm.
example, do we want to be going out and marketing our story to potential lodging folks to say, hey, this is a rich opportunity for you. Come on over.
I'm sure it's the chicken and the egg.
Right.
You know, because with the lodging people, they would like to know that you secured the OEMs, because that would help with that story to attract them in the first place. So, you know, both are going to want to see evidence of the other one. So, and maybe through these plans and through the RFP and through the lodging study, I would hope that'd be part of the process of figuring out which order, what to do, how to check those boxes. I think they're.
I think, you
relevant.
know, cities from 5 to 10,000, it's an interesting step for, you know, probably, you know, the number of rooms that are going to be filled and going to be occupied, right? And I think one of the things, to your point, Jeff, is like identifying the gap of where you're at in the time, right? Because you can't wait, you have to go.
Mhm.
But like, hey, in Sandy, you know, we've got, I think it's a Holiday Inn up there, or, you know, it's got this many rooms, and Clackamas, you know, so like telling the story, but also saying the city has, you know, a study and is in the process of recruiting or the boutique operator, which would probably be more suited for this size in this town and this climate right now, you know. I don't see like a flag coming here yet, but it could be wrong, right, till we get the data. But I think being able to, it's only this many minutes to Sandy for, you know, so like lodging in a way to be part of the story, I think is important in there to identify those gaps too, so.
Yeah, good question. We recognize blah, 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 and this is the current solution and this is where we're moving to. I think as long as we have a cogent answer for that question,
Yeah.
we'll be okay.
Yeah, there's not like there isn't facilities around us too temporarily, but you know, the seasonability of this area is an issue with me. I understand that, you know, it's a business arc. Especially when we're looking recreation, there's a huge business arc there, you know, where you're gonna go crazy and nothing. And crazy and nothing. And that's as the seasons roll, you know.
We could offer people the Steve Jobs experience where they sleep in the factory, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, if we can, you know, get them a job somewhere else, or, you know, we can at least get them here, you know, the business drives the winter business, you know, when you guys are busy doing your thing, you know, and you're bringing in clients or you're bringing in whatever you need to bring in, and they have a place that's, you know, half a mile away from where you're doing your business, you know, that's great, you know. You know, that's the kind of thing, but to marry the two together, it's going to take time. I mean, you know, right now a hotel's probably 5 to, I don't know, it's more than 5 years off before I think you'd see something like that happen here. Just looking at the way development's been working. But again, it's a matter of money, you know, if the money wants it to happen, it'll happen quick.
I think there's a difference in that between the tourism drive and the business drive. So I
Yeah.
think on the business drive, it's not a problem for anybody to go drive 5, 10, 15 miles to a hotel. That's not an issue at all.
Yeah.
The tourism, that's a problem to say, come enjoy our tourism and then drive away each day. That's probably where that comes to be a problem. And I think when we look at the priorities, once we get into the study or RFP and get somebody involved here, I would think they would sort of turn this upside down in some stages and say, look, you have to display that you have the workforce part figured out for your current tenants and for your future tenants. That's going to be job number one is are there ways to attract, reach, and retain? Is it a place that you can have your employees have a place to live and stay, and can you recruit people without just fishing from the same pool as the guy next door to you?
Mhm.
Any other thoughts on this? All right, okay, we're good on time. Shall we move on then to the industrial campus night out and open house?
John, did you need any formal movement on the strategic?
No, I think we're good
Nope,
there.
you're good, okay.
Yeah. I thought about that too, but I was kind of thinking, I think they're on the right
I
track.
didn't mean to question.
Oh, no, that's all right. You can question me all you want, because sometimes I'll just go, let's go, you know?
All right, well, number 6, Industrial Campus National Night Out. We met with the Public and Traffic Safety Committee, and so we're gonna partner with that committee to have the open house and industrial campus from 5 to 7 o'clock that evening. So if anyone wants to work with me and helping work with the traffic committee, or please just reach out in the coordination of that. So we'll probably be starting to meet and talk about that over the next month for August 5th there. We're also making a reach out to the governor's office to have them come and visit 4 or 5 of the companies in the industrial park here too. So that ask is going out there. No guarantee, but we are making that ask to the governor's office, and we're also making that ask to the Clackamas County's chair's office too. So if we can get some county commissioners and the governor's office to come out and tour. So we've got a proposed agenda that we're be sending out this week to invite those folks there, and then I'll be reaching out to the businesses in the park here to we'll make a kind of a circle trip earlier, and then if they want to stay, they can stay here too. So we're trying to bring more awareness to what we have here. So
Okay. So when was that? Give me the time of that.
August 5th,
I got that, but what's
5 to 7.
5 to 7, okay. 5 to 7.
If you need help setting up early.
Okay,
staying
thank you.
late, let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I'm in for it.
Okay,
too.
yeah, if you two want to help, that'd be great. I
I
mean,
will be in Europe at that time, so.
you're in Europe.
With England. And
Okay.
unfortunately, my wife wants to go to France. We're dragging her sisters along, and I'm not. I don't know, France. England, I want to go do.
Didn't have done that.
I know you like that.
And as it runs from 5 to 7, people will be in time for the 7:02 bus on the way back.
Yeah,
There you go.
There you go. Well, they do a good job, so. All right, any other comments about that? When was the meeting on that? The, with the other committee where,
Oh, that I went to? Let me see,
yeah, when
was,
is that meeting? In case we wanted to jump in on that.
Oh, the Public Traffic Safety Committee, you mean?
No, yeah, for the industrial campus night out, the other committee we're working with.
Oh, Public Traffic Safety Commission.
Okay. And when was their meeting?
That was, I want to say it was May.
I think you're talking about future and John's talking about past.
Past, okay.
Are you talking about the past, or are you talking about the future?
He's quite the time lord.
I know I am. I jump back and forth. I'm good. Hang on. Let it pass. I was just looking to see if there was a meeting coming up soon with the public traffic.
Oh, no, we're just gonna coordinate with their subcommittee. I'm gonna
Okay.
coordinate with them, so if
That's
any,
fine.
any you folks want to help, coordination wise, probably bring some food carts, and, I'm reaching out to the businesses and,
Sure.
but, I think if we can make awareness to, more of the property owners and business operators in the park, that's great, that want to be open, and maybe we put balloons or something out front for them to, for the community to know to walk in and have an open house from that standpoint
Sure.
there, so.
Is there a newsletter coming out from the city and?
Yeah, that's another
part of
good
this
point.
time?
Like we could put in a newsletter and a flyer.
Day or.
Save the
something.
date,
I know we
yeah.
don't have any formal marketing materials, but at least it'll get it on folks' radar screens.
That's a great one, Cindy.
We start word of mouthing it too around here.
Mhm.
It'll go wildfire pretty quick if we. We'll just start putting it out in some forums and.
For want of a better expression, in the former logging community.
Yeah. There was purpose in the meaning. Or maybe cast a wider net on it. I don't know if we can. I don't know if that's possible, but not at this stage.
We have a list of exactly all the
All
businesses
right.
and contacts in the industrial park.
That being said, I guess we're going to the commissioner comments. Do we have anybody would like to comment about anything? Any thoughts, ideas?
I'll insert a commissioner comment.
Oh,
We were
go
just
ahead.
having a little side
We're
convo
pretty
here.
informal here, so go for it.
Thank you so much. I was thinking, in advance of a save the date to the community, getting ahead and making sure that every business in the park knows that we're doing this, since we're gonna be literally in their yard. And they don't hear it someplace else. So if there's a list, and Eric was just saying it's probably through the city, through the business license list, but just an email or something to them, letting them know that on August 5th from 5 to 7, the masses are coming, we hope, but so that they get an early heads up is all I'm suggesting.
Good idea.
That was all my commissioner comment.
Businesses. All right, anyone else? Well, seeing that no one else has anything else, then I guess we're adjourned. And I thank you all for coming, and I thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks for serving as chair today.
Oh, that's okay.
Would you like to bang the gavel, or are you okay?
Okay. I'm a little more informal than that.
Good.